Alright, welcome back to another Let's Play Sierra Games, but this is actually not a Sierra game. However, it is clearly modeled after a Sierra game. This game is called the Telwynium, is I believe how it's pronounced. And, sorry, that is a Coke Zero I am opening. So, Coke Zero or soda or Coke, if you'd like to sponsor me at any time, I would greatly appreciate it. Anyway, this is for the Telwynium game. This is book 1. I first found this game a couple of years ago. I want to say like maybe 2 years ago. And I had posted it on the Sierra Help forum saying, hey, found this game called Telwynium. Looks like a Sierra game. I haven't played it. If anyone wants to check it out, here's the free download for it. And that was that. And as I've been playing the Sierra games, what I like to do is play a couple Sierra games for my channel, and then once in a while just break in with a different game that is similar to the Sierra style of adventure game. So, for example, I've done like the Less Manly games, I've done the Legend of Carandia games, I did Blue Force, eventually I want to do Gray Matter and all those other games, I've done Space Venture. So I do other games, a bunch of those are by Forma Sierra folks, like the Space Venture and stuff like that. But I like to break it up by doing other games that are like Sierra games so that, not that my YouTube channel is super popular, but I have reached 1,200 subscribers and I want to thank you all for that. But it's not like I'm groundbreaking and, drawing in thousands of people with my videos. But I do like to do it because, it's kind of fun to play a non-Sierra game, like Less Manly and Legend of Carandia, games that I've played before and truly enjoy because it reminds me of Sierra games. So, here we are with the Telwynium, and being an indie game, I wasn't sure what to expect when I decided, hey, you know what? I've played a few Sierra games, let's try a non-Sierra game, and let's try the Telwynium, which I've never played before, so I don't know what to expect. And confession time. So I played the first one, right, obviously because I'm doing a commentary about it and it's already been uploaded. And normally the way I do my channel is I play a video, I upload it, give it a few days, do a commentary, upload it. With Telwynium, all 3 games, so the first 3 games are available, and there is going to be a 4th one from what I've read, and the 4th one will be the last one. What I did with the Telwynium is I played the first game, was absolutely blown away and surprised by how much I enjoyed the game. I knew nothing of why the game was made or anything like that. I've done some research since then. And apparently the maker of the game, he does this for a kind of a convention, like a gaming convention. So he just kind of kicks these out to kind of showcase it. And so that's how he's done the first 3 games. Like he just makes it to show it off. And when you read about that, you think, oh, he probably just kind of put minimal effort into it. Just kind of made a cool little adventure game. No lore or anything really behind it. But that is not the case with this game. So as I was saying, confession time, normally I play a game, upload it, wait a little bit, do a commentary, upload that, kind of space it out. What I ended up doing with Telwynium is I played the first game, was like, well, this was really amazing, I'm going to play the second one. So I played the second one, and I beat that one, so the second one is already done and in the can, ready to be uploaded also. And then I was like, I'm just going to do it, I'm going to play the third one. And so I played the third one and beat the third one. And the third one definitely feels like the shortest one. It's not the one with the least amount of lore. It introduces a bunch of new stuff. But definitely it feels like the shortest one. So I've played all 3 games so far and finished and beat all 3 before I ever got to doing the commentary for this one. So if that tells you anything about how enjoyable this game is, I would strongly recommend, if you haven't already done so, go check out this game. Go download it and check it out for sure. The game starts. The only thing I do wish with this first one is I kind of wish that they would have taken the time to kind of do a cutscene, I guess you can call it, for the intro. Because it just kind of starts off that you are this guy named Pendar, and you're traveling with your companions, and you realize that you're all kind of on the run. And it's not very clear why until you start talking to everyone, which is fine. But it would have been kind of cool to kind of show why these guys are on the run and what you're running from, and to give some of that a little bit of background and depth. But it doesn't take long in talking to these characters that you kind of quickly find out what happened, who is who. It did take me a while to figure out the guy that I thought was a dwarf is actually a really, really, really short minotaur, I guess. So that kind of threw me for a loop for a while, because I thought he was a dwarf because he looks like he's got this big beard, and it looks like he has like a dwarven helmet with the horns on the side. But it turns out that's actually not a dwarven helmet. That's actually his horns, and he is actually kind of like a minotaur of sorts. And so you find out that there are these casters in the world, and they are based off the seasons. So you have the spring, the summer, the winter, and the autumn. And they each have different powers depending on that season that they're based off of. And so when you start this adventure, you're all kind of sitting around this campfire, and you're supposedly this great tracker, and it's your turn to be on guard. So you're supposed to go out there and basically find some wood to basically keep the fire going. And similar to any Sierra game, anything that you see that isn't nailed down, try to pick it up. If you can't, you probably need to do something else to go pick it up. So there are some things definitely like that in this game that you see on the ground, and you're like, oh, click it, and it says, oh, you can't quite get it, or you should do something to get it. And so overall, this game is very clear as to where you can go and what you can do. And there are like little, you'll see it here, like that little wispy thing floating in the air. Those are known as like breath. Or breath. I'm pretty sure it's just pronounced breath. And it's odd that you, as Penn, can see it, because supposedly there are no males who are casters anymore. It is solely on the female. And so you can see that when you exit over to the right and come back, the scene has changed. Aldor is now sitting up, and you can now talk to Aldor. And so by moving and doing things, you can also trigger certain events by going into a screen and coming back. That'll trigger something that needs to happen. And what's really cool is the way this game works is it's pretty straightforward. Pretty much anytime you find something, it's kind of a good idea to show it to anyone that you're with. They may have some additional information about it. So anytime you pick up something, kind of take it and show it to someone else just by clicking on your inventory item and placing it on them, and they may give you additional information. So you kind of talk to her, and you kind of learn about the Shadowfell and what they are and how they're supposedly really evil. But let me tell you, nothing is how it appears to be in this game. As you continue playing the game, you start finding out more. Like, for example, why you can see the breath thing and stuff like that. They do such a good job. I am truly, truly impressed with how they foreshadow things and how they pace things and how they've already got this history. Like she mentions, like the cycle, and about how, when something is absent of the soul or absent of breath and stuff like that. They really do a really good job of establishing lore. And what's funny is some of the lore that they use is very similar to lore I have in my own D&D game, where essentially people who are born in my D&D world without a soul, which can happen sometimes because something may extract the soul before it reaches the body, they are basically awakened in a way that is unusual and unnatural. So they kind of have something similar with that, and the breath and how it ties to entering the body and what it does to the body and stuff like that. So a lot of cool stuff like that I was really, really pleased to see in this game. Was not expecting it. It sounds like I'm just going to go on and on and on preaching about how good this game is, and really it is really good. I guess the one thing I will say, first, another positive thing about it is that unlike Sierra games, which were usually native resolution of 320 by 200, this game can natively play at least 1920 by 1080 because that's my current resolution on my screen. So it plays at 1920 by 1080, which is why you'll see when I upload there's two versions. There's the full screen version, which does not have my branding over to the left hand side of Let's Play Sierra Games and stuff like that. So there are two versions that are exactly the same, and pretty much I'm going to try to do the same thing with the commentary. What I did is pull both videos down and cut at the start of both so that the audio track should align for both of them, and I'll just upload both. So if you're wanting to watch the audio track with my branding on it, that's fine, or if you want to watch it full screen, that is also fine. I like to put options out there for my 1,200 viewers, which I just reached. Exactly was 1,200. That is something that's odd. I'm going to sidetrack for a second, is that YouTube no longer tells me who subscribes to my videos. So previously, as I was trying to make my way up to the 1,000 so I can monetize and stuff like that, I used to get emails that said, you know, Joe Schmo has subscribed to your videos. And I no longer get that. I think maybe after you reach 1,000, they just stop sending you notifications, because I don't think I ever turned off that notification. So what I normally like to do when that happens is if someone has a channel that is similar in nature, like it might be about video games or whatever, I like to return the sub back to them as a gesture of thanks. You know, like, hey, you sub to me, I sub back to you if it's like content that, you know, I might want to see on my feed. But that doesn't happen anymore. Anyway, so yes, the game does native resolution to at least 1920 by 1080. So you can play it full screen. It looks nice. And when I did shrink it, I think it actually kind of tightened it, and the text is really, really clear. So that still worked out when I put it in the branding format. The one thing I will say that I wish they would have done, similar to the old Sierra games, is that you could do multiple save games. The one downside to this game is you can only do one save. Now, the positive side to that is, as far as I can tell from the 3 games that I played, you cannot dead end in the game. So having one save, truly not a big deal. Like, it's not the end of the world, because you cannot, as far as I've been able to find, you cannot dead end. And if there's anyone who can find a dead end in the game, I figured it would have been me. The reason I do wish that they had allowed for multiple save games, like a menu that you can save in different spots, is, I think it was on the 3rd game when I was playing it, I forgot to begin capturing. So I'd started playing it, saved, left, went to go get some food, came back, launched it again, and in my eagerness to play it, I forgot to set the computer to begin capturing. And so I'd played and got to a point, and I saved and I quit. And then when I went to look at the videos that I had been normally capturing, I noticed it did not capture the last time that I had played. So now I had no way to restore back to where I was before to start capturing from there. And so what I literally had to do, and thankfully the 3rd game is, like I said, I think it's the shortest of the series. I essentially started the 3rd game over from the start and captured the whole thing and got to where I was at before, and basically just continued playing past that point. So I was not able to restore to a point closer and just, go back and just capture a small segment. I had to literally start over to capture the whole thing. Now, most people are not capturing the game footage to upload to a YouTube channel or anything like that. So again, having one save is not overall a game breaker for most people. It just happened to be kind of inconvenient for me when I realized I was a little too eager to keep playing the 3rd game and had forgot to basically set my game to capture. That was a lot of rambling in that first 15 minutes of the game, both talking about how great the game is and just some of the side things. So anyway, going back to the game, when you do find the wood and take a camp and go to sleep, you discover that one of your companions has had her throat slit, and it's slit wide open. And immediately, there's some clear tension between the Minotaur and the hooded figure that is currently standing to the far right. there is the... At first I thought there are some minor typos in this game, but that's honestly not a big deal. But at first I thought the creature that is on the far left-hand side with the green shoulders and hulking brown arms, I thought it was a typo of a golem. Not Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but a G-O-L... now I'm going to misspell it. G-O-L-E-M, I believe it is. Golem. I guess Golem instead of Gollum. Tomato. But usually a structure, a living structure, very commonly found in D&D, like golems or golems. I thought in the game that it was a typo when they spelled it out, because they spell it out differently. There is no M, it's like Golan. And so I thought they were making a typo every single time. And maybe they did, and maybe they fixed it by making it part of the lore. Because as you play into the second and third game, that spelling and what it means actually comes up again. So I'm not sure if they realized they made a typo and they're like, okay, now we're just going to make lore out of it, which is excellent if that's what they did, or if that was always their plan to have that spelling mean what it does and have it be a part of the lore. Now, one of the things, or one, if you've watched, or sorry, listen to my Echo Quest. Oh, I did it again. If you watched or listened to my Eco Quest, not Echo Quest. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the Echo Quest thing, just watch my Eco Quest commentary 1 or 2. You'll see what I'm talking about. So one of the things in Eco Quest, both 1 and 2, that I suffered from in playing that game is sometimes the paths were not very clear until like a lot of random clicking, and suddenly Adam, who is in Eco Quest, actually moved to where he was supposed to move, and I suddenly see that there's a path available. There is, right on the screen where I'm at now, there was this a path to the north that is just hidden behind those 2 large stones. Now, in hindsight, after randomly clicking around, I can see that between those 2 stones to the left, there is a brown path, and then there's like a little large stone to the right of it. Right there in the upper right corner, you can kind of see that there is a path that moves north. For a while, and you'll see me doing this as you watch the playthrough, I literally move back and forth between the camp, the screen to the right of the camp where the broken wagon is, and then there was a path there that goes north, but you can't go there because it says that leads back to town, and that's where the Shadowfell are, and that's where you're running away from. So I'd come back and go to the left of the camp, which is this screen, and then there's another left, which I'm about to go to, and there is a river there. So you'll see this river, and there's a tree, and there's no way to cross that river. So that river doesn't look like it's a raging river, but it will not let you cross that river, so you have to basically make a bridge out of it. Now, where that tree is, next to the raging river, it does talks about a broken axe, and I clicked everywhere thinking, somehow I have to pick up this axe, and I have to fix this axe, and I need to chop down this tree, and this is how I get across. That's what I was thinking, but that is not the case. So there is a while where I'm literally just going back and forth, and obviously in the screen to the right of this river there's that beehive, and I have a sling, so I'm thinking, well, if I can make this sling, I can just shoot rocks at the beehive and knock it down, and then I can get honey or whatever might be in the beehive. It's not clear yet because something hasn't happened yet. So there is sometimes a little bit of difficulty in these adventure games as to which way you can go, because the path looks obscured, which happened in Eco Quest to me several times, where I would click, especially in Eco Quest 2 when I'm climbing in that tree, the first tree where the nest is on fire, and I climb up to the tree, and you have to climb one more screen up above the burning nest. But when I was clicking up, the character Adam in Eco Quest 2 was only going so high, and I had to click a certain area to actually make him climb ascend past that one screen. And so I guess that's probably one of the benefits of like having a typing interface. So it was very common, for example, in adventure games, you could type look and it'll say, oh, you see an exit to the east, one to the north, and one to the south. And so you know there's the directions you can go. And that used to be a thing in the Sierra games. You could type look and it would kind of give you a description of the area. And so had this had a typing interface, it might have said, from that screen, hey, you see a beehive hanging on a tree, you see a fallen stump, and you see a path that goes to the west, a path that goes to the east, and a path to the north. Had it said that path to the north, I would have probably gone there and been able to do more stuff. So there is a good while where if you're watching this, again, because I played these games with no playthrough, and this was great because Telwynium, I've never played before. So there is no muscle memory or anything like that where, a bunch of the Sierra games that I have played, especially multiple times, like the Lee Shoot Larry, King's Quest, Gabriel Knight, Police Quest, a lot of those games I've played so frequently that a lot of it is burned in my brain. So as I play, I start remembering what to do or how to pass something. With Telwynium, having never played it, there was no muscle memory to call on. It was just me trying to make my way through this game. And though, like I said, some of the screens, especially the north screen from that area where the beehive is, was difficult to see initially. In hindsight, now I can't unsee it. Like when I look and I know that there's a path there, I can now clearly see, oh yeah, that is a dirt path that kind of goes to the north. It's just really obscured by those two big stones, and it's not like a clear, like, hey, this is a way you can go. And it's really cool, like, you can see me trying to put stuff on that glowing light of breath. Because at this point, having not gotten far in this game and having never played it before, I don't know the significance of what that white light is yet. And it's so cool as that begins to unfold in the story of as you learn what it is and how you are able to manipulate it. And so now you can see that I've come back to the camp, and now the hooded person is gone. And Otar, who is, I thought, a dwarf, but actually a minotaur, he has beef with that hooded person. And we don't know why that hooded person maintains their hood. They just talk about how they have to keep it up, but we don't know why that is. And as that unfolds, it's kind of cool because it just all keeps building onto the lore. Oh, and the other thing you'll notice is there was a girl named Tanny who was kind of down in the lower right when you were first there at the camp. She, after the person gets their throat slit, she disappears, and so does your best friend, who is sleeping more to the southwest of the camp. So she gets dragged into the woods, and your best friend disappears and says he's going to go out into the woods and find her. So now you have someone in your party who has had their throat slit and dead. You have the girl that you, as the main character, are interested in, and then you have his best friend who has just disappeared into the woods to go find her. And then you come over here to the right, and you see the hooded figure appears to be talking to someone. There seems to be two voices. Drissa, who is the person in the hood, and some other mysterious voice. And she seems to be talking about how this is all a disaster, and you say, I heard you talking to someone. And she keeps calling you a sheep herder, and that you should get back to tracking. So after you discover her talking to herself, which is now a new event, so more and more is unfolding in the game, you can see now that she's left and probably returned back to the camp. And sure enough, she is back at the camp now. See, and she keeps calling you, like, I think, sheep boy and farm boy, or sheep herder and farm boy. And that's Otar the Minotaur. And I believe that's pronounced Kirk. is the golem. Golem. I forgot how it's pronounced in the game. Golen, I think. I think it's Golen. And this is where I just noticed as I was standing there that there is a brown path that moves forward. And it appears to go to a grave. And the Aldor are the spellcasters. So you have the summer and the winter Eldor, and you find out that at one time it was the summer and the winter that had a great war against each other. And I believe the summer and the winter are all male, and the spring and autumn are all female. And supposedly all of the winter and the summer Aldors have been slain. There are no more left in the world. Except there seems to be at least one more. I'm going to assume that is pronounced Croc for the Golem. Alright, D&D fans, how do you pronounce those structures? The ones that are like skin or flesh, I believe. Flesh, stone, iron. I think there's one more in 5th edition D&D that I'm not remembering. This is, so my thinking here actually was not far off. So what I was gonna do is the dry grass that I took from the graveyard, I was gonna burn it because I know that smoke will actually make bees docile. So I had the idea of burning some of this dry grass and then using it against the bees. Now I'm not far off because over by the river I took a wet branch of the weeping willow, but had not yet quite pieced it together that it is actually the wet willow branch is what you need to use with the fire. And you see, as you go to leave now, your good buddy Wit comes onto the scene. He looks wounded. As you talk to him, he kind of crumples to the ground, and the Golem, however you want to pronounce it, she says, hey, or I'm just going to pronounce it Croc, because I believe that's how her name is pronounced. It's like Kkrrock. When you talk to Croc, basically says, hey, I can make a salve, but I'm going to need some ingredients, and I refuse to leave my Aldor's side, and her Aldor is the one who had her throat slit. So there are 3 things that you'll need to get. One of them is a red mushroom, one of them is grave moss, and the other one is honey. So obviously, the grave moss, we know where we can probably find that. The red mushroom, I can't remember. Yeah, I already have it in my inventory. That was in the tree stump where the beehive is. And obviously for the honey, that's where the beehive is also. And now you can see, now that Wit has come onto the scene, there's new dialogue where you can ask Drissa if there's anything that she can do. And Croc says, you know, there is something we can do. The earth has healing. And you say, please, anything. So a crimson garret, gravewort, and some honey. So we already, and you can say I don't know what the ingredients are. And then Croc will just shrug and say that's how I know them as. But we obviously have the mushroom already. We still need to get the honey. So giving him the red mushroom from the tree trunk says that's the crimson garret. That's the wet willow branch. And then when we go get the grave moss, or the gravewort, we see that Otar has found himself upside down. And so there's some witty dialogue you can do with Otar about, hey, are you pretending to be a bat? And he's like, just get me down. And you can see that Otar's axe is laying on the ground at his feet. And he's immediately blaming Drissa for the trap. So he believes Drissa is the one who set this trap up. Because Otar and Tressa do not get along. And it's about to get worse between the two of them when he finds out what she is. So when you offer to shoot him down with a bow, he's like, nah, I've seen you use a bow. And then, you explain Wit is the archer, but he's obviously not doing well. And then you say, well, I can get Drissa. And he goes, nope, I'd rather just hang here. So I tried to use his axe, which to me sounds logical, to cut Otar down. And you would think Otar, despite him saying, don't mistreat my axe, would be okay with you using his axe to cut him down from a trap. But no. The game does not want you to do that. It wants you to do something else. So you take Otar's mighty axe and you go to that tree and you cleave it. So now that tree is knocked over, and I assume the broken axe is just a clue as to that you need to use Otar's axe maybe, and not to use a broken axe handle. So there's a piece of fabric that's stuck here, and it's Tanny's, who is the missing girl. And if you try to pull it, it will not come loose. And then there's her staff, even up higher. And it says only an uplander could get up there, and Otar, the Minotaur, is considered an uplander. I'm not sure why a Minotaur, especially as short and stout as he is, would be a good climber. Unless the race that Otar belongs to is more closely related to goats. There's some good dialogue in here too with some of the things you try. Like if you try to throw the dagger at the rope, it talks about hitting Otar pummel first, thankfully, and then it says Otar is not impressed. So right there is the gravewort, which we now have. So having found Tanny's staff, you can tell Otar, and he says, well, if you get me down from here, I'll go get it. So now we've given Croc the gravewort, which is the second ingredient, but we still need the honey. The beehive riddle really vexed me. That one took a lot to kind of figure out. Like I said, I kind of had the right idea, because I was originally going to burn some of that dry grass from the graveyard to light it up and then docile the bees that way. It was just a wrong item that I was trying to burn. So finally figuring out that I can hold the wet branch into the fires, it makes it kind of smoky. Now I realize what I need. And you can see prior to when I figured that out, I was trying to combine things, because some items you can combine to make a different item. And so I was clicking on stuff to combine, and I figured, you know what, let's go try to burn this wet branch. And sure enough, it alludes to it. And there it is. And it's funny how you get messages like you'd never forgive yourself for misusing the axe. So I can calm the bees with the smoke, but I need a way to get the beehive down too. And so there are some rocks on the beach, but if you chuck it, it doesn't do it. So there's something I'm still missing. And it has to do with the scarf that's stuck in the mountain. And so on this screen next to the river, you can see another breath thing before it disappears. So by using the dagger on the scarf, we're able to cut a piece of it off. It says, "You are certain this is from Tanny's scarf." And so now we have a slingshot. And so now we swing the slingshot at the nest, hurling a rock, but the bees don't seem too impressed as they fall. And you can now see it on the ground, a little bit of honey. And since we've already used the branch to calm them, we can now get honey out of the hive, which is the last ingredient we need for Will. So once you give the last component, see, the Golan. I'm going to pronounce that as Golan or Golan. It is not a misspelling of Gollum. And so Sheet Croc mixes the salve, and you quickly run over to your good friend, place it on the jagged wound. And after you look, he's gained some color, and he doesn't seem like he's dying anymore, but he's still pretty bad off. But I think it's just a matter of walking on and off screen for him to suddenly be back on his feet. So because Will is not on his feet yet, because I've not walked back on the screen, we don't have a way to get Otar down yet. I was thinking something had to happen for Will to basically get back on his feet, but I believe it's just walking off screen and coming back is what did it. And there you go, Will is on his feet, looking great. So now we can talk to Will, ask what happened, be surprised that he's back on his feet. He's not even sure what happened. And he doesn't seem to remember that Tanny's gone missing either, which is why he went dashing off into the woods. And so now you can ask him a few questions like, hey, how are you feeling? How's everything? You explain that he nearly died. He talks about how the girls at home would be disappointed if he died. So you can see he's got a little bit of a charm, I guess you could say, which comes into play in the third game. I guess that's a spoiler for the end of this game that I said he shows up in the third game. My bad. Spoilers ahead. There's nothing like a spoiler warning after the spoiler. So sure enough, you talk to him about Otar being pinned in the tree, and Will goes over there, shoots him down. And Otar immediately begins accusing Drissa of it. And then Will suddenly says, I'm beginning to remember something. It was you, Drissa, who slit the Aldor's throat. I remember hearing your voice at night. And then Pendaryu says, I heard her talking to someone out in the woods. And then Drissa says, oh, you heard one voice, did you? Or another? And she reveals that she actually has two heads. And the voice says, did you hear mine or mine? And Otar says, oh, I'm going to pronounce that as a Rakimir. And so the Rakimir are apparently two-headed people who don't have a lot of trust in the world. And that's why Drissa and her other voice, whose name I can't remember, remained hooded, because the Rakimir have an ill repute in the world. So I like that they're already establishing these characters that are with you having beef with one another, and not just in terms of personality that you see, like Otar is very like huffy puffy and aye lad, that's what we'll be doing lad, aye. But he doesn't get along with Drissa, and Will is this witty, charming kind of guy who disarms everyone with his smile. And then you have Drissa, who's this mysterious person who's remained cloaked all this time and turns out to be a Rakimir. And so Alithi, I believe it is how it's pronounced, is Drissa's second voice, or her head, I should say. So I like that they've already established like all these different things. They're setting up a mystery of who has Tanny, what happened to Will. Is it true what Will is remembering about Drissa did it? So I was truly surprised how much this game went in with lore, and cannot say enough how much I was surprised and how much I really, really enjoyed this game. And so Otar talks about how the Rakimir are all snake-tongued and not to be trusted. And Drissa is explaining that she was traveling with the Aldor because they were going to the White City to do some investigation of matters that are unfolding. And so you can talk about Otar, about the Rakimir, and he'll kind of share some information, and Drissa, who's overhearing, has plenty to comment about it. So we know we still have that staff that's up on the cliff. But Otar, even though he said he'd go up there and go get it, has not done it because there is yet even another thing that's still to be triggered. Again, the first game, and it might be because I hadn't played it before and I wasn't knowing what to expect or how the interface worked. The first game seemed to be the longest of the 3 that I played. Again, I felt, and not in a negative way, I felt the most lost in the first game with the puzzles, even though I do believe the puzzles in the first game are far more straightforward. The puzzles in the second and the third game get a little more obscure. So, logically speaking, like the first game is the easiest, even though it took me the longest to get through. Because the second and third one, definitely the puzzles are a little more on the obscure side, where this is kind of straightforward. Like I need to knock down a beehive. Can't do it with a bow or an axe apparently, but you make a slingshot, knock it down. That's logical. I need to calm the bees down because they're all upset that their beehive got knocked down. I thought I had to burn the grave grass that I found, but that's not it. That's actually for the campfire. But you do use the wet branch that you're carrying around. So all of it is pretty logical. It's just figuring out which one you have to do. But the first one, aside from it seemed like I wandered around a lot, especially not seeing that first north path that leads to the graveyard for a while, I do feel like the first one is the longest game in terms of how much content it had. The second one also felt kind of about the same size as the first, but the third one, I don't know if it's because I kind of knew what to expect playing the third one in terms of how these puzzles might work, that I was just becoming more and more familiar with how the world of Telwynium works, that I got through it faster. But the third one definitely felt like the shortest one, but it also is the one that kind of jumps between different characters, surprisingly. So in this one you primarily just play Pen until the very end, where it kind of gives you a cutscene to the second one, which is amazing. But in the second I know for the third one you play multiple characters. You change perspective. And I believe in the second one it changes once. I'm trying to remember, because I might be thinking of the third one. This is what happens when I end up playing all 3 back to back, because I enjoyed them a little too much to not play them. They all kind of blurred together. They feel like kind of one game. And that's kind of my plan. What I'm also going to do is I have one video that I've already spliced together for both the full screen and the branded version, where it's all 3 of the videos as one. So the second and the third that are pushed into this one larger video that I'm going to upload after I do the third commentary for the series, I'm just going to upload all 3 of them kind of viewable together as almost like a cinematic experience of just watching all 3 back to back, so they're not different videos. So there'll be the individual ones and then one big one that is 1, 2, and 3. And ideally, if the 4th one comes out sometime this year, I'll probably keep the 2 videos that have the first 3 all combined into one, and then I'll attach the 4th one on there, and that'll kind of be the bookends of the whole series. So if the 4th one does come out sometime this year, the folks at Powerhoof, if you're listening, I'd love to put it onto the end of the trilogy and just make another video that is all 4, that shows all 4 games in one video. That'd be awesome to do. So hopefully the folk, I think it's just primarily one person who is doing this game. Hopefully they put out the 4th one, and that'd be kind of cool to have that come out this year and be able to play it, and then also just throw it at the end of not the trilogy, I guess, anymore. It'd be what is a series of 4 called? Oh, cool. Squad? Quadrilogy? I don't know what is a series of four books or 4 movies called. I don't even know if there's a word for it. There has to be. If there is a trilogy, there has to be one for what a series of 4 is called. I could probably just ask my phone, which is like 15 feet away from me. But if you happen to know, let me know in the comments if you've actually listened this far into the video. If you know what a series of 4 books or a series of 4 movies is called. Also, if you've gotten this far, it's a little late into asking because we're almost in time-wise. I'm going to end up speeding out any of the dead air, time-lapsing dead air areas. If you have played the Telwynium first one, don't tell me about the second and third one because I haven't got those uploaded yet. But if you've played this first one, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments. Did you like it? What did you like? What didn't you like? Let me know in the comments of what you thought of this game if you've actually played it as well. I should have asked that way at the beginning of the video, but this is what happens when you just talk to it instead of like having a script. I talk, and that leads to a lot of rambling. So those of you who have subscribed to this video and wait for the commentary, hopefully you're a fan of my non-scripted kind of ad-lib talk about the game as it is progressing versus having a script that is all laid out for me to talk about start to finish what I'm doing. If you're a fan of my rambling, go ahead and let me know in the comments. If you're not a fan, don't let me know. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead and let me know also that you would prefer a more streamlined version of the commentary. Alright, so we've talked to Otar now, and he has actually gone up, got the staff, and so we now have the staff in our inventory. Amidst all my rambling, that is what happened. So as you try to climb it, it says only an uplander can climb it, but there's still now clearly something left to do because we've uncovered all the screens that we're aware of, and we know that Tanny is somewhere around here. And obviously we found her scarf and her staff, so she's somewhere in this area. And that rock kind of looks like a door, and I cannot believe that I never tried to touch the door prior when I tried to get the scarf. I have no idea why I didn't do that, because you can see as you push on the door, a symbol briefly shows there. So having seen that symbol on the door, we return to camp to see if anyone has anything to say. And Croc, when you click on them, you say, I think I've found a hidden door. So when you talk to Croc, Croc says, you know what? I could talk to it, but I can't leave my Aldor. So when you ask, it says, yeah, my Aldor is the one who summoned me. I'll stay here until I die, essentially. And then I'll return to mud and stone. And so you try to push and say, are you sure there is no way? And then you talk about how you could carry her, and says, Croc says, I won't let you disrespect her by moving her body. So then you show her the staff and says, does this have enough breath for you to follow me and open that door? And so when Croc gets there, speaks in that weird stone language, and the door flickers and the door opens. So now we've got more to do. And so you shout, Tanny, are you in there? And sure enough, when you go inside, Tanny goes inside, and so does Croc. And when you try to ask who did this, she says, I don't know, I was asleep. And she does say, I stabbed the fiend in the gut. And then an arrow thunks in the back of Croc's head, deep into her neck. And sure enough, who should show up but Wit? And he says, don't worry, Pen. And then you say, what are you doing? Don't give me that pen. Like I had no choice. She brought them to the village. It was her fault. And you say, the Aldor? And he goes, yes, the Aldor. And they're looking for something. The Shadowfell are looking for something. And when you look at your good friend Wit, madness seems to linger in his eyes. And Wit promises, hey, they promised me that they wouldn't hurt you. Sorry, but you're stuck in here for now. And he closes the secret passage. And Croc is dead. So now the question is, was Wit behind it? Was Wit the one who brought the Shadowfell to the village, even though his own parents were killed in the attack? Tanny says he's capable of it because he's always been kind of eyeing gold, kind of on the greedy side. Which you kind of get that impression with his wit, his charm, and he's kind of a roguish kind of guy. And so Tanny says that, we need to start a fire. And you're like, how are you going to start a fire? And she's like, well, I need tinder. So you can pull the shaft of the arrow out of Croc's neck. And she asked for dried grass. And in a brief moment, I was about to panic. And I thought I needed more of that moss grass. But there's clearly grass growing on that wall. And then over by the water, you can see that there is breath floating. And so if you use your dagger on those roots, you can get the roots, and then you can give that to Tanny. And then Tanny will be able to start a fire. And this, folks, is where the game starts getting wild. Because Tanny starts using her Aldor magic to basically use the breath to make fire. And the graphics are so cool. The way that it is doing the light, and you can see the shadow kind of like shimmering around. I feel like I'm gushing about this game, other than the single save game, which wasn't a problem until the third one, because that's when I messed up. So with that, now that you have the fire, you can ask her, hey, can you use your magic to open the door? And she says, no. As a spring Aldor, I don't have that kind of magic. And then you say, well, what about bringing Croc back to life? And she's like, no. That is strictly forbidden. Like, that is evil. And then Pen says, well, it beats being dead. And she's like, I don't agree with that. So she believes raising the dead is the worst thing you can do. Well, she is going to be in for a very, very big surprise by the time the third game comes, or by the time probably the fourth game, because she doesn't know everything yet in the third game. Spoiler alert, she's in the third one. And so she talks about the Aldor and the Soul War and the Cycle War, and how the summer and the winter fought each other. I love that when you try to hand her staff back to her, it says you decide to keep your staff for yourself. And it's like, I think it's hers. when you tell her, like, hey, how did you manipulate the light like that? She's like, how did you even see the light? So the fact that you can see the breath is a surprise to her. So when you click the staff on Croc, it says nothing happened. So when you grip the staff and click it on the light, you pull the light into the staff, and Tanny says, how did you do that? And she says, it's not possible. And then now, with the breath, you go click on Croc, and you feel it coursing through your body, and Tanny tells you, let her rest in peace, but it's too late. You've already commanded the breath to go into her. Or it. I don't know if Croc is a her, and just the way she spoke when she says, yes, dear, and stuff like that, made me think that Croc was female. Tanny tells you what you're about to do is far worse. And when the spell completes, what is there is no longer Croc anymore. It's something different. The golem that stands before you, and you command it, open the door. And it blindly follows your command, and Tanny's like, this is wrong. This is very, very wrong. And the thing formerly known as Croc talks to the the stone passage, and the door bursts open. She stares dumbly at you, awaiting instruction. There is no life left in those eyes. And then you tell it, you're free to go. And it yells out, Croc! And then collapses to the ground, once again, quiet and dead. And behind you, Tanny starts to cry. And when you click on her, it says, stop crying, we need to get out of here. And it talks about when you look at Croc, her corpse no longer seems at peace, like she died with anger. And you say, let's get out of this miserable pit and make your way. When you click on her, you say, are you coming? And all you have to do is walk and she'll follow. And then she tells you to hush. And you say, stop it, I got us out, didn't I? And Tanny's like, at what cost? And then she says, did you hear that? Something from behind the trees. And sure enough, the Shadowfell have returned. But they're not alone. They've come with Wit. And he says, please, just come quietly. They promise that they will not hurt you. And you say, please, Wit, you don't know what you're doing. And Wit says, it's too late. And sure enough, you're upside down. Otar is once again upside down. And Drissa is also upside down. And the Shadowfell say, well, now it's time to kill them. And Wit says, but you promised. And it says, my lord, we promised something for you. And then Wit says, I won't let you do it. The Shadowfell says, fine, and then kills Wit. And then the Shadowfell says, well, I'll leave you there to hang upside down, and the crows will feed on your eyes and kill you. And so, when you try to use the staff on Wit, it says, I need more breath. So now you need to command the breath that is floating around. So you have the one, and you command it into Will. His finger twitches, but it is not enough. But another breath, and another one appears, and then another one appears. So now we need to capture all of it. I need more breath. So you get another one. Then there's another one. And it glows brightly and vibrates in your hand. You will the breath to move forward, push it forward into will. Or not wit, but will. So his body lurches this time, but I need more. And now you see a lot more breath floating around. So you summon and capture as much of it as you can just by clicking on it. It goes into the staff. Again, this story is so amazing because it takes a huge surprise turn. Most adventure games, when you play a pretty heroic kind of character that doesn't do anything questionable. But here we are, we just raised a Golan who was peaceful and quiet and generous. Raised up from the dead to open that door. Now we're summoning all this breath to summon our friend Wit back. And Otar says, I really hope you know what you're doing. And the thing glows brightly like 1,000 suns, and much of it shatters. And then Drissa says, what have you done, farm boy? And the earth shakes as if in terror. Darkness consumes you. The branch is coming down is what Otar shouts, and it just breaks and you all crash to the ground. And you hear the world gaping open, and as you come to, Wit is still dead, but all around you is a skeleton army. And they are at your command. And Otar says, well, I hope you're happy with the skeleton army. What now? And Penn kind of looks around and says, let's go find Tanny. And believe it or not, that's where this ends. Thus ends the Telwynium Book 1 Winter's Dawn, which is the first season, which is essentially you coming into power as one of the Winter Eldor. And this game is by Dave Lloyd, who runs powerhoof.com, and was made in 2021. Cannot, again, talk about enough how much I enjoy this game. So I'm looking forward to uploading this commentary and see who else agrees with me about how amazing this game is. The music and the sound effects were done by Brandon Bloom, who is on the Sierra Help forums, an amazing guy, and he's extremely talented. He's worked on other games as well. So go check out Brandon Bloom's site. The font was by Goatmeal, which is based on the Sierra font, and he was also on the Sierra forums and also an amazing dude. So all in all, this game has so many cool people behind it. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. But first, watch this video and click like and subscribe and tell all your other friends about it. And then go play the game. And then come back here and tell me how much you liked it and that you agree with me. Thank you for all of you who subscribed. I love you all. Bye.